Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good? Yeah, man, I am supremely behind schedule, but I am on live now. There was like a whole bunch of stuff going on today that like supremely set me back here a couple of hours, but I am here ready to go right now. We got a lot of stuff here to go ahead and get going, man. Whew, it was wild. It's just been a wild weekend, a very busy weekend, but a wild weekend. Over where I'm at. There was like some other stuff going on, during this weekend that I had pretty much been a part of. So I had participated in that, here over this weekend, and so usually when that happens, I pretty much have like a delayed show. Either it's like later in the evening Eastern time, or it's the following evening. But I just went ahead and just said, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead, do this show right now, get it going, get it through. We got a lot of stuff here that we're gonna be talking about here. So I'm pretty much like on, like my energy is almost like on 110 right now. 110 right now. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely wanted to get into this fight card, that happened. It was a wild event there at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Of course, it was commemorated as the 100th event there at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. And, that one was, whew, what a good one it was. What a great one it was there with, the four fights that were on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, culminating with that main event there with Tank Davis and Frank Martin. Just looking at that thing real quick, man. Hey, man, I had said this for weeks. I said it for weeks about what I felt was going to happen. And it exactly went pretty much the way that it went. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. No, I just saw something about, one comment here about the aftermath of the fight that happened with Tank Davis and Frank Martin. So, it was crazy. It was wild. It was like all that type of stuff. So, we're gonna get into it here with Tank versus Frank. Tank Davis, undefeated WBA lightweight champion. Frank Martin there as the undefeated contender. And everybody was talking about, what? Hey, this is the first time that Tank Davis has fought like a slick fighter, a black fighter, and all that, man. Hey, big ups to Just Do Boxing in the building. Of course, you're out here doing the work here with the YouTube Boxing Talk, man. Hey, you know what, man? Since I'm just getting in here, I'm open the floor a little bit, man. I don't know if Just Do, got something going on. You got Just Do, you got Miss Just Do, of course, with the Boxing Talk, man. Peace to you, my dude. But anyone that's also willing to jump on, man, I got the link going here if you wanted to react to what went down there with Tank Davis and Frank Martin, because that was something, man. It was definitely an event. Hey, listen, to be real, I was thinking that I would be at the fight, but originally I thought the fight was going to be in Houston on June 22nd. But you know what? I think it's my fault because they usually do events on Juneteenth weekend. Usually it would have been with one of the Charlo brothers. That's where it started. It basically started there, over in Houston. They would do an event in Houston, to commemorate Juneteenth weekend, because Juneteenth is basically the whole thing with what happened over in Texas. That's when the last set of slaves were basically free, or they told them that they were free. I ain't getting all to that technical shit, but they ended up having this fight in Las Vegas. Them folks at MGM said, "Oh hell no, nah, dog. Nah, Tank ain't fighting Houston. Nah, you coming over to Vegas? You fighting in Vegas." So that's what ended up happening. You had Tank Davis there, MGM Grand Garden Arena, going up against Frank Martin, defending that WBA 135-pound title. Of course, you had Tank Davis there undefeated there with a record of 29-0, coming in there with 27 of those 29 wins by way of knockout. Of course, one of the highest knockout ratios in the sport of boxing. Yes, he is ranked in the Boxing Source pound for pound top 10. That's right. Yes, I did put him in there in the pound for pound top 10. And you know, the thing about it is that I, at the time, had him at number 5 with Canelo, Crawford, Inoue, and Oleksandr Usyk. They're, you know, ranked above him at the time here before this fight took place. But, you know, he has been one of those, you know, highly exciting fighters out there in the sport of boxing. You know, everybody was, you know, been anticipating that, hey, you know what? If you have a Tank Davis fight, hey, you might be expecting a knockout. And so, you know, they thought that was going to happen here with Frank Martin, even though Frank Martin was there, you know, pretty much the same age there, 29 years old, a little bit taller there with the height of 5'8", reaching 68 and was a southpaw. And, you know, they said, hey, you know, his dimensions, his athleticism, his movement would give Tank Davis some problems. Now, in the first couple of rounds, you've seen, you know, Frank Martin be, you know, successful in what he was doing offensively, as far as like scoring upstairs, moving around, moving in and out of pocket or in and out of range there for Tank Davis there. But looked like Tank Davis had something in mind while he was letting Frank Martin get his offense going there within those first couple of rounds, because you really didn't see that much offensive activity from Tank Davis there in those first couple of rounds, but just ended up looking like he was downloading the data or downloading what Frank Martin was doing. And it looked like, you know, Martin was impressive in those first few rounds or so and everything like that. And, you know, I thought, hey, this is going to be a good fight. You know, this is going to be a pretty good fight. But, you know, there was just one thing that I just pretty much expected. I expected Tank Davis to make the proper adjustments, and he did, starting, well, some people said it was like much earlier. I thought it was within like rounds 4 and 5, because you've seen where Tank Davis, you know, started to walk down Frank Martin and then get him to the ropes and get him to the corner, and then, you know, start to, you know, wail off on him, you know, whether it was like upstairs or, and then, you know, down to the body. But, you know, the thing was when he was trying to go upstairs with the left, Frank Martin had his, you know, hand, you know, the phone basically with his right hand. So he was expecting, you know, Tank Davis to try to go upstairs with the left hand. So he kept that hand up there so we could like nullify if there was like anything happening there with the left hand. But then you seen Tank Davis make the adjustment and kind of smother Frank Martin there. And instead of going upstairs, giving Frank Martin the ability to get out of the ropes or to get away from the corner, every time that Frank Martin tried to get out, he just, you know, went and touched up the body. So you ended up seeing Frank Martin get touched up to the body a little bit, that, you know, slowed down his movement a little bit significantly. And then starting at about round 6 and 7, you've seen Tank being Tank and doing this thing. And then round 8 pretty much was a wrap, because when you saw Frank Martin get to the ropes, he tried to have his right hand up, you know, to try to go upstairs. But then instead of, you know, Tank Davis like going with the left upstairs, he went up with the uppercut hook combination underneath, stunned Frank Martin, and then just another left like put Frank Martin out. And that was it. It was a wrap. 8th round knockout victory for Tank Davis. Now I'm going to go into it a little bit more, but I'm going to have my guy coming up here. I know he has a lot to say about this fight here. You know what I'm saying? Big ups to him joining us here real quick, man. Is Zoe in the building, man? What's happening, Zoe?
What's good, brother? What's good? What's good, man?
Yeah, what's happening, man? What's happening? So what, you know, was this like everything that you expected to happen in this fight between Tank and Frank Martin?
Well, I was busy last week, so I didn't get a chance to come in the show. But my breakdown was gonna be, if there's enough film on Frank Martin to know he moves excessively, like his movement's not very intelligent. He has a lot of fights where he gets stuck on the ropes. he's very susceptible to feints. You feel me? Like he doesn't make adjustment. You could feint him right into the corner whenever you want. So the fight, I'm not gonna say the fight went exactly how I went. And I'm not gonna say the fight went exactly how I expected because I expected a more dominant, quicker performance from Tank. You feel me? That's what I think of Frank Martin. I thought Tank was gonna pick it up earlier, but I gave Frank Martin the first 4 rounds. But it wasn't the kind of first he won the first 4 rounds because of what he was doing. Is more so of what Tank wasn't doing. Even in the rounds he was winning, Tank was still successfully feinting him and trapping him in the corners. He still was able to get him in the ropes. You feel me? Like, I don't know. Frank Martin, he's a very great athlete. He's very big. He's skilled. But when it comes to the actual IQ and application, he's lacking, which is not his fault because he started boxing like relatively late. So you can't really fault him for that. The fact that he made it this far in talent, we should commend him for that. But this fight didn't go how I expected because it took a little longer than I thought it would. But yeah, but this is what the results what I was expecting, a highlight reel knockout.
Yeah, I mean, my thing was I expected it. Yeah, I don't know if you kind of like follow, me on social media, whatever it is, but before the fight, like a couple weeks before, a week before, I just felt like Frank Martin just didn't have enough there to, really affect Tank Davis over the course of the rounds, and I thought that Tank would eventually take over and just, end up stopping him in 8 rounds. I don't. The thing with Tank Davis is, it's like he don't. It's like you never really see him like try to go at a fighter and break him down and try to get rid of him early. Like I haven't seen that in a while out of Tank Davis. It's almost like he just says, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna give these opponents confidence. I'm gonna, have them, think that what they're doing is working." And then once I make my adjustment, when they feel like they get comfortable, then it's like, okay, since I done learned what you're gonna do, what's your plan B against me? If you don't have a plan B, that's it. It's a wrap. I got you. And that's what it looked like here. Even though you had a couple times where you seen where Tank was visibly affected by the punches upstairs by Frank Martin, but even with that, there was like no punch, at least for me, from Frank Martin that really affected Tank like that. Like even when he was, catching Tank with the counter left hands early in the fight, it wasn't really affecting Tank. He was still doing his thing, like how he like has it set where he'll get up and he'll get going and walk forward. And you see him like walk forward, getting that pressure in early. So even when Frank Martin was walking back and throwing a jab, then okay, he was successful with that. But then after about like rounds 4 or 5, you didn't really see that jab coming from Frank Martin anymore. And that's when you're seeing Tank Davis start to open up his offense.
Man, I think Frank Martin's gonna sit down with Derek James and look at the film and kick himself in the ass, bro. Because IQ point aside, man, it's just like how I felt about the Charlo versus Canelo fight. This fight kind of took the characteristic of that fight later on, like around round 4. He was too reactive. He was not willing to engage enough. And then, like, he just kept walking himself to the corner, and Derek Jones consistently kept on telling him, like, there's one thing for somebody to cut off the ring and put you in the corner, but you're walking yourself there. Like, it's like that's like a mental tick this nigga has. You feel me? You see Derek James in the corner telling you, stop doing that. And some fighters, it's just hard to break that habit. It's hard to break that habit. But I'm seeing a lot of people saying this fight solidifies Tank as a pound for pound, and that's the type of things that just make me hate you Tank fans. Because Frank Martin, come on, man. Come on, bro.
But I mean, here was the thing though, and it kind of like goes into the discussion about the lightweight division overall, right? So going into that fight, you basically had Frank Martin is ranked around pretty much as like a top 5 fighter at lightweight.
That's Tank's first top 5 opponent he beat in his division.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. That's one. But the other thing is like maybe that attests to the lightweight division in general, as far as like overall depth or whatever it is. But the thing is too, like a majority of those fighters that were in the lightweight division are pretty much they were pretty much on one side there. But I'll talk about this a little bit later. We'll see what happens here later on down the line as far as like what could be next here for Tank Davis. But you know, at this time, it's like okay, yeah, you seen what it's like different levels. That's what you basically saw here in this fight between Tank Davis and Frank Martin, and we mentioned it. Like you said with Frank Martin, like he started pretty much like late, and you seen Tank Davis here. He pretty much been fighting since 7 years old. So it's like, hey, some of this stuff is like clockwork to him. You know what I mean? And yeah, Frank just had a whole lot of flaws here, technical flaws and tactical flaws that were visibly showing here in this fight against
But
Tank
what
Davis.
I am noticing is Frank Martin is getting the same stimulus package that Rolly and Isaac Cruz got. Because I'm seeing people saying he's the second best lightweight. He would have beaten every other lightweight today if it wasn't for Tank. They did
Well,
the
we
same
don't know
thing.
that. We don't
They
know
did the
that
same.
yet. You have to like we actually have to see it. And the thing about it is, well, with Frank Martin, at least for me, I don't think he'll have that opportunity to actually prove that at lightweight because that was one of the other stories that was leading into fight week
I don't
about
think he
Frank
was
Martin.
drained at all, man. This had nothing to do with
I
Drake.
don't think it was drained, but I do think that he does have to work a little bit to get to 135. And
So I was gonna say I don't think he was compromised in the slightest. I think what happened was just a tactical battle, and a less experienced guy was out of his depth. That's all it was. It
out of
wasn't
his
no.
league. Yeah, it was pretty much out of his league in this.
Yeah, it wasn't no ready. Yeah. And then it's like people I seen like people who really know boxing, like the experts, was trying to tell people this, and the fans kept on trying to push this like it's a close fight net. But I know why they do that. It's because Tank fans have to do that. That's what Tank fans do. They do that shit with everybody. So I know why they're doing it. But this was not a 50-50 fight, bro. Like
But I didn't think it was a 50-50 fight. But as I was saying earlier, what Tank does is he allows his opponents to look like they're doing good against them to give them that confidence. And then once he figures out what you're doing and you have a habit of doing that and doing the same things, so you get used to it, it's like, okay,
but
you're going to do that? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Boom. And then now you got to have to adjust it and have a plan B. And I'm like, come on. If you don't have a
I
plan
came
B against Tank Davis, you could
I came
forget it.
away I came away in this fight even more confident, even more bold. That Shakur smokes him, dog. Like I don't even like whatever comes to that. Yeah, this is gonna be a
Mm,
smoke session, bro, and I can't wait.
mm.
It's gonna be a
Well,
smoke session, man. It's gonna be a smoke
it's
session.
gonna be a smoke session.
It's gonna
Oh
get
man,
better.
we'll see, man. But I mean, my thing was, it's like, yeah, like you were saying there with Frank Martin, it's like what Coach Derek James was telling them that you have to, go ahead and try to come forward there against Tank Davis and try to get to the center of the ring. And Frank Martin couldn't even, get to the center of the ring. He just allowed Tank Davis, like I said, walk forward, come forward, and then just start the thing with right jab, and then just back him up. And he's the shorter fighter with what I think the shorter reach too, whatever it is, right? Pretty much like what, yeah, but it wasn't that much of a difference with the reach, but the height still was a factor there. And you just didn't see Frank Martin continue that activity, after rounds 4 and 5. Once you
Like
seen that, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You see, this is why I complain all the time about the modern day fighters' lack of an inside game. There's no need to move that much against Tank. The strength differential between the two was so ridiculously apparent. Frank Martin was fucking different level stronger than like you saw when he tried clinch. Like Tank is doing
Mm-hmm,
everything in his power to break out of it is nothing.
mm-hmm.
You do not have to move. Stay there and dirty box him. He did it in a couple, the same thing Ryan did in round 2 against him. And then I seen Frank did that shit in a couple of times where he cuffed them behind their head and will go hook with the level. Keep doing that. Physically manhandle them. You can do that. You feel me? Especially if the referee's not complaining. The referee just gave a couple complaints, not taking no points. Do that. That excessive movement, you're not that skilled to be doing that shit with Tank.
Yeah, you don't have that ability to move around the ring there for 12 rounds like that.
He made
And even with the movement, you even seen like Tank Davis like use his feet to counter what Frank was doing, because whatever Frank tried to do, he ended up getting to the ropes and getting to the corner. So it was like Tank just like said, "Hey, okay, initially you're able to get out of the ropes. Initially you're able to get out of the corner, but now you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do part of what Coach Calvin was telling them was that, throw punches, but make sure that they land, just make sure that they land anywhere. The body, to the arms, whatever. Just make sure you throw, make sure you land on something." And so he ended up doing that, number one. And then number two, he started to go to the body more, because you know what? If you go upstairs, that's when you kind of see Frank Martin kind of like duck down and then go around him. But if you initially aim to the body, whether he ducks down or not, you're going to end up hitting something. And that's what he ended up doing. And that started to, get Frank Martin to tire down.
Like, just grab the nigga. When you're in the road,
that was the other thing too. He didn't initially like try to say, you know what? I'm in the corner. After I get Tank Davis has hit me to the body, okay, I'm here in the ropes and I'm here in the corner again. You know what? If I can't get out or move forward and grab him. And you didn't see that from Frank.
Oh man, that's what I'm saying. Niggas like Mayweather, Muhammad Ali would have made you reset so many times, bro, with headlocks, bro. Like, bro, just grab. And then, especially when you that strong, the strength of you can drain Tank by being more physical than him, because you're so much stronger than him. You could have just drained him by doing that. You could have did all that shit. Instead, you try to box him.
And the thing was, like, I was out there for that press conference on May 4th? Yeah, May 4th. During that early afternoon, there for that press conference for this fight. And one of the things that Tank was saying about Frank Martin was like, he said, "Hey, he's like too swole or anything." I was like, okay, if you know that you're built like the way that you're built, shoot, use that. Use that. And like he was saying, hey, he was moving Tank in the clinches. So, why not do that? Big ups to Maurice Jones in the building, of course, Four Corners boxing in the building. What's happening with you, my brother, man? What's happening with you? But yeah, I'm like, if you're not going to initiate that, especially when you're starting to tire it down, then shoot, you're pretty much toast, bro. You're pretty much toast. Right. And I mean, I kind of get your point about, that there may be some people that, big up Tank in reference to, what he did in this particular performance. But it was like I said, when you have Frank Martin there, pretty much like ranked as a top 5 lightweight, that's sad. Of course, I have Tank Davis ranked number 5 in the pound for pound rankings right now.
Smoke, you high, and you smoke dust. I know a fighter who beat a number 2 and number 1 guy back to back in his division, became lineal champion. That y'all shit on. I know a nigga who did that. That's not ranked higher than Tank, and I don't get that.
There was a guy that beat before he it was like 2 top 3. It was about like 2 top 3 guys within the division, but he did end up in the Boxing Source pound for pound rankings before he got smoked though. Last year. That's Stephen Fulton. So you see what happened there.
No, I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about Shakur beat the number 2 guy and then the number 1 guy back to back and became lineal champion in the division. And then Tank has yet to beat somebody better than Oscar Valdez, no matter how much people try to pretend Oscar Valdez not good. Like, yo, when are we gonna finally? When all the fans finally gonna say, like, put Tank in there with somebody who's
that might be something. You know what? I might have that as a topic later on down the line in reference to Oscar Valdez, because we still don't know fully about Oscar Valdez at this particular point. Yes, he's the current interim WBO champion right now. He did, have his loss to Shakur Stevenson. He did have his loss to Emmanuel Navarrete.
Navarrete, yeah.
So now it's like, okay, he had, what was it, that stoppage win there
Yeah.
to be WBO interim champ. So hey, we still haven't seen, the last or whatever's left there of Oscar Valdez.
But we talking about, and then even another dude, another guy that I think like Oscar Valdez get a bad rap is because that Conseco fight, and then that's another thing I be trying to explain to people. I'm like, bro, like some people I know this is a testament to how good Al Heyman and PBC does with their production and their promotion over there. I just
Well,
guess top
it's that those aren't the terms. It would be matchmaking.
matchmaking, okay, matchmaking. No,
Right.
no, I want to use promotion. I want to use promotion because like if Oscar Valdez was a PBC fighter and then he fought a guy like who was it? Conseco? Conseco would have got some type of treatment where people would be like, "Oh, that's a serious opponent, win or loss."
Okay,
but
we got some on. We got a counterpoint on the chat there. But before we get into that, I want to get my guy on here. Of course, representing out there, in the area. Of course,
it's Frank Martin. It's Frank
over in New York City, whatnot. He's here in the building. Shout out to Four Corners Boxing in the building. My guy, Fight Night Mo, is here, man. What's happening with you?
What's good, fam? What's good?
Hold up.
What's going on?
Now I got you.
Yeah, man. Ahead. I just got back in from Vegas, man.
Tired, you was able to be there in Vegas, man. Oh shoot, you came back on a Sunday. Oh
man. Yeah, came back on a Sunday.
On the Lord's
come back on a Sunday. But yeah, man, it was a environment was on 1,000. Put it that way. It was on 1,000.
I feel you.
I missed what you guys were talking about, so I'm just trying to jump and tap in. What topics you talked about? What you didn't talk about?
Nah, I mean, we had our breakdowns of the fight. You know what I'm saying? I said that what happened in the fight was exactly what I was pretty much predicting, was that Frank Martin was going to get his offense going in those first few rounds, and that Tank Davis was going to be able to figure that out, make adjustments, and then just overwhelm him and then stop him in the 8th round. I picked Tank by stoppage in the 8th round. I told people that, you know what I'm saying? So
I picked him. I picked Tank by 4.
Athleticism or whatever it was, I was like, Tank was going to make the adjustments because Frank Martin really don't have like a plan B like that.
You don't have no boxing IQ, man. He has boxing talent, he has boxing skill, but he has no boxing IQ, bro.
I had that fight 7 through 9, and then I picked 7 through 9 on one, and then I just picked exactly the 8th round on another ticket. So I was able to hit on two tickets. Shout out to Frank though. I don't want people to bash him because a lot of people have been bashing him since this fight that happened last night. You got to give him. Yeah, a lot of people bash him. So I was in the building yesterday, so I heard a lot of the negativity, and I just want to let him know: hold your head up, King, because Frank dared to be great. He took on the number 1 guy at 135, which a lot of people don't want to do. A lot of people have been trying to avoid to do, and he took a chance on himself. So you got to commend him for that. He fought within what his talents could let him do. He even said in the press conference, he made mistakes. Coach Derek James told him stay off the ropes. He has a habit of doing that. So these are certain habits that he still has to tweak in his arsenal and his game of being a fighter and then going along to fight better competition. One thing we do know about Tank, whether people think you're not that great or you're good competition, after you fight Tank, your stock goes up. It's happened with Rolly, it's happened with Pitbull, and it's gonna happen with Frank Martin. He's gonna get a lot of good fights at 135. He's gonna get some good competition, and it's gonna go up from there.
He's going at 140.
I think he might go up to 140 because, to be honest, he didn't look so healthy at the weigh-in. You can see his face sunken in. That means that the guy is cutting heavily, which means that it's taking a lot on his body. Is a sign for you to move up. in the weight class to another weight class. But
Yes. Yeah.
right now, he just got to learn from it, and which he'll get better at. And like I said, he's a late starter in the game. Look, same thing happened with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder was a late starter in the boxing game. You just have to learn to get better, respect the craft, get better, and think good things are gonna happen. And I like the fact that he didn't back down from Tank. He used his abilities, which his physicality. He used somewhat of his IQ that he has of the sport, and he listened to his corner for the most part, except for staying off the ropes. But it was only a matter of time because, like we know, watching Tank, he downloads the data, he analyzes you, and he breaks you down. And it started to happen around towards the end of the third and then the fourth. And being there, I think it was a fourth round that Tank got hit with a shot, a nice shot by Frank Martin with the so-called brick hand. And if you look at the fight, you seen Tank look at him. He smiled. He was like, "Yeah, yeah."
Mhm.
I looked right at my wife and my people there. I said, "He's activated." All that did was just activate Tank, and that put him in that extra realm, that extra level. Because, like we say, it's levels to this. That put him in that extra level, and after that, it was go time.
It was a wrap. Yeah. I mean, like the thing that I was like, watching through the Amazon Prime pay-per-view was like around, like that third or fourth round, right? Where you see Tank Davis like go ahead and come forward, like he was coming forward. Like he wasn't really, using his offense yet. But when he started to a little bit and then he started using the feints, that's when you seen Frank Martin twitch a little bit.
Yeah,
Like he was like, okay, I'm gonna have my right hand up,
right.
close to the phone or try to shift over or dip down. And then once Tank saw that, he's like, oh man, you know what? I got you. I got you. You're just way too twitchy and just too reactive to, what I'm doing. Even though there were like sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, that Frank Martin looked like he was trying to set traps by backing up to the ropes and then having Tank come to him. And then once Tank
Mm-hmm.
started to throw, he threw like a counter left and then to get out of that, which was pretty good. But
Right.
my thing is with Tank Davis, and yeah, I kind of like say this with Canelo at times, is that if you don't have something from your offense that makes them respect you, you could forget it. And and
Exactly.
and the thing with Frank Martin is he just doesn't have the power to make Tank Davis respect him. Once that happened,
Right.
that was it. It was a wrap. But
And
I want to get Zoe in because Zoe is like, man, fuming right now because he mentioned earlier before he got on that folks was talking about resume of Tank Davis and we kind of like mentioned Oscar Valdez particularly in the lightweight division. And then someone in the chat here, man, Talk Trends, shout out to Talk Trends in the chat said that Jose Pedraza is a better win or better opponent than Oscar Valdez. So,
absolutely,
so
You
absolutely,
niggas are insufferable. You niggas are
absolutely,
insufferable. I'm out.
absolutely.
hold up,
All right,
bro.
bro. That's my cue, man. You niggas is
Hold up,
insufferable, bro.
That's
hold
I
up,
a.
swear
Zoe.
to God. These Tech
You
fans
can
are
do this
insufferable,
respectfully,
bro.
bro.
Let me let know because we could talk and have a dialect. Let me ask you a question. You follow the sport or you just watch the sport?
No, he follows. He like
So
he.
let me ask you: when Tank beat Jose Pedraza in that weight class, he was ranked the number one guy. Who else was
No, he
stopping
wasn't. No, he
Pedraza
wasn't.
at
No,
that
he
era?
wasn't. Pedraza was ranked number 7th when he had the IBF title. You
Who
see, that's the
was
shit that I'm.
stopping?
This the shit. This what
That's
y'all
that,
doing. I
that's
could go
that's
pull
not
it
the
up for
that's
you.
not the
I can go
question I
pull it up for
asked
you.
you.
Why you doing that? You
That's
already started
that's
lying. You started off
that's
lying.
that's not the
Why did you
question
do
that I
that?
asked you. I said he was the top guy in the ranking of that weight class.
No,
Tank
he
went
wasn't.
and
No, he
beat him.
wasn't. No, he
Tank.
wasn't.
We can't have a debate if you're gonna cut me off on it, my
Bro, you
brother.
can't start off lying, my dude. You start off
My,
lying.
No, hold.
let me finish saying what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead,
At
fam.
that era, Tank beat him. Jose Pedraza was on the pinnacle of being the guy. He was the guy. He was dropping dudes, no doubt about it. So you're saying that Oscar Valdez is a better win than Jose Pedraza? That's what you said earlier, because I came on when you said that. Oscar Valdez best win in his career was when he fought.
Miguel
Man, I forgot my guy.
Miguel
He was a
Burchell.
bully, huh? Belichick.
Yeah, Miguel Burchell.
Bercho. That was his best win on his entire resume. Ever since then, Valdez, he got caught juicing. Number one. Number two, he really lost to Roberson. He really lost to Robinson Conceição. They got robbed. Number three, he shouldn't even have fought that fight when he got caught juicing. He was supposed to get stripped of the title right away. But boxing is boxing. And when you got certain people that know how to maneuver certain things, money talks better than others. There's no way, my opinion, that anyone could tell me that Oscar Valdez was a better overall opponent than Pedraza, because after Valdez had his incidents, after him getting caught juicing, after the Roberson Conceição fight, he got cooked by Shakur. He got whooped on by what's my guy? Navarrete and him. So I don't see that personally as Valdez being a top guy. That's your personal opinion, but there's no way. You look at Pedraza's resume, you look at Valdez's resume, Pedraza's resume is way better. And Pedraza, somebody put in the chat, Pedraza was a killer at that time. Pedraza was laying dudes out. He was a champ for a reason. So that's my input on it. You see it how you see it, but we matching resumes. Pedraza and Valdez is not even close.
All right, go ahead, Zoe. I know, Joe. I know you're still on here because it looks like you're still connected on, man.
Hello?
Yeah, you on.
Okay. So I'm a screenshot. I don't know if I can screenshot this shit, but I'm gonna send you the official rankings, the transitional boxing ranking for the 2017 of February, heading into the Tank fight. He was ranked number 7. And I knew that before I Googled it. I just Googled it just to confirm. He was ranked number 7. When Shakur for Oscar Valdez, he was ranked number 1 at 130. He was ranked number 1. And then you talk about resume. Who did Pedraza beat that was better than Warrington? Who did he beat? Answer me. Who did he beat better than Warrington? Who did Pedraza? This killer that with this resume, who did he beat better than Warrington with this resume you're telling me about at 126? Who was it?
Who are you talking about? You said
Pedraza has a better resume than Oscar Valdez. I'm asking you right now, who did he beat that was better than Warrington?
Warrington resume is good, bro. Let's not talk about that.
So who did Pedraza beat that was better than Warrington because Oscar beat him?
Oscar beat who?
Oscar beat who? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, he didn't.
Thank you.
Well, hold on. Not one second. That other British nigga, same shit. The other British nigga. What's the British nigga? My fault. The other British nigga. Him. Same name. He ain't beat nobody better than him. What's the British nigga name? Give me his name.
It's Scott Quigg, man.
Scott Quigg. Who did Pedraza beat better than Scott Quigg?
A lot of people.
Who?
A lot of. Oh my goodness. I gotta go on my encyclopedia for you on this one.
Listen. Me and don't think I'm taking shots at Pedraza to take shots at Tank. Me and JR done had arguments when we talk about Loma resume. I bring up the same shit. I do not bring up Pedraza's part of Loma's resume because Pedraza's fucking trash. I do not know why you guys pretending this nigga is good. He's not a fucking name that should be beat. Miguel Birchik at the time of the fight was a fucking monster. This nigga was literally ranked number 1 at 130. Tank, the highest ranked divisional opponent Tank has beat to date before Frank Martin was number 5. Before Frank Martin, the highest ranked opponent he beat was Isaac Cruz at number 6. And I know how people try to pretend Isaac Cruz is good. I told you a lot. Isaac Cruz is Jose Luis Castillo if Jose Luis Castillo is trash. That's what Isaac Cruz is.
So let me ask you a question. So you're basing your narrative on who had the better rankings. So the rankings make a fighter that. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to understand your point here.
Go ahead, brother.
You're saying rankings state that fighter is a better fighter than another fighter.
Not all the time. Not all the time. I also use eye
Because
checks.
you
I
know
also
rankings is all about money too. Like
no 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 no
let's
no no
break
no
it
no no
down.
no.
Let's
Okay,
really be
Jr.
real legit on the
Jr.
boxing
Who
here.
pays?
Because
Who pays the
rankings get raw.
transitional? Who pays
Hold
the
on, Mo.
transitional boxing ranking? Who
Hold
pays
on, Mo.
them?
Hold on,
I'm
Mo.
asking. I'm just trying to get the same. Make sure we're
Listen,
on the
and
same page.
the
So if
transitional
that's what
boxing
you're
ranking was
basing,
listen, the transitional boxing ranking was created because the people felt there was too much corruption going on the Ring magazine. So they all left the Ring magazine and created an independent ranking system that's free of sanctioning fee and compact, so they create credibility and non-bias. That's what it is.
Now here's my
you know,
thing.
you
Like,
let me just hold on, Source. I know you know
So
that's
there's no
still
money.
bullshit, right? Because there's a lot of people on the rankings that ain't shit.
I know.
And they still get
I
paid
know.
off. And
Pedraza,
they
like
still and you
Pedraza.
still listen at the end of the day, bro. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes, bro. Because I'm done with the
Okay, let's talk.
appetizer. Let's
Okay,
get
let's
to the
talk meat and
dessert. At the
let's talk
end of the
about.
day, boxing is boxing, and I love the sport. But we all know there's a lot of corrupt shit that happens, and money on the wood make things go good, bro. You get the right amount of money, the right amount of people behind you, and certain names, and you could take a Joe Schmo and have him look like the fucking Great White Hope, bro. Let's really talk about it. That's really the truth of
Listen,
boxing.
listen.
And that's what
Going
they're trying to clean up in
my
boxing, but it's still that type of stuff going on in the
you
sport.
see, I know. You see me. I don't. I know what I say a lot of time comes off as controversial, but I know why it comes off as controversial, and I'm not saying this to belittle or talk shit to anybody. I know why it comes controversial because the traditional boxing fan has changed a lot since I was a kid. The traditional boxing fan has changed a lot. Niggas don't give a fuck about niggas is too caught up in performance and spectacular shit. Don't even give a fuck about what's happening in between. Don't give a fuck that Rolly Romero is not a very skilled fighter. He's not an intelligent fighter. He's just an athlete. Don't give a fuck that he was up 3-2 against Tank. Don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck that Ryan Garcia is not very technical at all. Even though he has the basics down pat, he's not very technical. He makes a lot of money. They're gonna give a fuck about that. They still okay with the fact that he was up 3-2 against Tank. You feel me? People look at niggas like fucking the Dominican nigga Luis Garcia. I swear to God, niggas knew he was trash when he came. As soon as it came time for the fight Tank, apparently this nigga turned into some type of killer and shit. When are they gonna put Tank inside somebody in the ring who can think? Now they're
hold up.
trying that with. Now they're trying to do that with Loma. They're trying to do that shit with. They're not. Now they're trying to do that shit. They're trying to do that shit with Loma. But Loma like 45 years old now.
But
The type
here's
of
the
guys
thing
they
on
put
that.
them in the ring with, they put them in type of the ring against guys who's coming up in weight that's too small or guys that have no boxing IQ. I don't watch you guys pretend. I watched Marius Barrios before he fought Tank. I know you guys don't know I know you guys know he's not good. I know you guys only saying he's good because Justice justified his Tank shot. I know that because I know what the
No,
narrative was
it's
before
not,
he fought Tank. Y'all
that's not
seen
what
it.
it is. That's not what it is. Because okay, I'll do this real quick, right?
Go ahead, Source.
Now, one of the things here that when I talk about the thing for pound rankings, right? And you have like a couple of fighters that will be on there that have had impressive wins or key wins that got them to the spot where they're at, whether it's pound for pound rankings or world championships or whatever, right? One of my top 3 fighters in the pound for pound rankings, right, is Naoya Inoue, right? When he started to go up the rankings there in pound for pound, or when he was going through the whole thing with the
Series?
the tournament, right? The fighters that he fought, the fighters that he beat, Emmanuel Rodriguez, or like
Payano,
yeah, and Payano,
McDonald.
and those guys. After they fought Naoya Inoue, they still had success after losing Inoue. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is like, okay, you know that he's like Inoue's fought like the number 1 guy in one weight, number 1 guy in another weight, number 1 guy in another weight while he was coming up, right? And those guys were still having success. You could say the same thing here with Tank Davis. You had Rolly Romero be a world champion. I don't know, but I know what you're saying there. But
You just made his point. You just made brother's point about the corruption. You just made his point.
But no, that has nothing to do. Wait, hold up though. Mario Barrios has to win over your Dennis Ugas. You telling me that's not?
Who gives a fuck? That nigga's 96 years old and Cuban age. So who knows what the real age is? You got to add 20 to that.
Is not no 96 years old. Come on, man. But
nah, we can't do that.
Here's the other thing too. When we talk about the whole thing with Pedraza here, because I want to keep it moving. You brought up the whole thing with Pedraza and where his standing is in the transnational boxing, rankings board. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I do know a few people that are members of that Transnational Boxing Rankings Board. Now, the thing about it is that when you look at the rankings at that particular time, right? Pedraza is there at undefeated. At the time, the number one guy was Lomachenko, which, okay, yeah, he's Lomachenko. But if you go down the list and you compare him to Jose Pedraza, you would have to ask yourself, if those guys fought Jose Pedraza at the time, would they beat him? Like the likes of Jezreel Corrales, Francisco Vargas, Orlando Salido, Jason Sosa, Takashi Mura. All of those guys were ranked over Jose Pedraza at the time with those Transnational Boxing Rankings Board rankings at the time. So
That's fair. That's fair. Because at the time, no matter how the narrative is that he was a killer, at the time, that's what he was, bro. The narrative came up. The narrative of him coming up killers came from Tank beefing with Floyd, and then Tank saying, "Oh, they're trying to set me up." That's what the narrative this guy becoming a killer came from, bro.
Well, now, as it was said before his fight against Hector Luis Garcia, and yes, I know, Zoe, you're never gonna let me get away with what
You said that was Tank's best opponent, my boy. You said Luis Hector Garcia was Tank's best opponent.
Anyway,
who said that?
JR. Blasphemy, man. And that just proved my point. That just proved my point.
I gotta disagree with that one. That one I totally disagree with.
He tried to deny that.
That's not his best opponent, but I have some of his best opponents, but that wasn't one of them.
No,
okay, so
Barrios gave him a way better fight than Luis Garcia.
JR, would you say, based off my track record and calling fights in the breakdown, would you say you can judge my my judge of talent in breaking down fights?
Yeah, but you know, one of the things.
So why do you keep disagreeing with me, fam? When I tell you this shit,
because that's part of the goddamn show. Okay, all right. But anyway, man. But at that time, when they had the press conference for Tank Davis and Hector Luis Garcia, they were saying at that particular point that the dog's out the cage, and that pretty much meant that the whole thing with like the law, like the criticism in reference to Tank Davis and him not being in the ring against certain fighters, all that stuff was going to be coming to an end. And I'm seeing this right now.
That started it.
Tank Davis. It's starting up. Frank Martin's number one. Vasily Lomachenko is going to be number two. He'll end up being number two because of the circumstances that have pretty much gone up right now because of what happened there with the WBO belt with lightweight.
Yeah, he's not going to fight his fellow countryman.
He was going to win, right? Now that he didn't win, guess what? You ain't going to have Lomachenko fighting Baranchyk. That ain't happening. You know what I'm saying?
And they're not going to sell his order to Shakur. They might as well sell it to the highest bidder, bro. That's Tank.
Nah, so Lomachenko is going to be going up against Tank Davis.
And that's going to be unification.
You're going to have, of course, Stevenson.
And Lineal.
Against Dennis Baranchyk. That's another unification. And then once it's all said and done, 2025.
They're going to try to set up the undisputed Shakur versus Tank. If Shakur can handle business, if Shakur can handle business and get through the fellow Ukrainian.
Oh, man, come on, that shit, man. That guy's the worst of the Ukrainians, bro. Denis Baranchyk is the worst of the Ukrainians by far, bro.
So you're gonna take my spot as far as like hating on Eastern Europeans, huh?
No. I don't hate on him. I'm just telling you, out of all the Ukraine, I'm not saying the rest of them suck. I'm just saying he in particular is garbage. Dennis Baranchyk is garbage.
Hey, listen, that fight that happened with Baranchyk and Navarrete, man, I'm like, yo, what?
I never want to see this on TV ever again.
That was terrible. That was actually terrible right there, man. But you had that on one side, and then the other side with Frank Martin. Like, even though there's like some intriguing fights out there at 135 pounds,
140.
I think he's going to end up being at 140. I think he's
listen.
He's going to have to go there eventually.
I think even with 3 fights in, I think Andy Cruz smokes Frank Martin right now. I think Keyshawn beats Frank Martin. I think Shakur wipes Frank Martin out. He doesn't win the round. You feel me? I think Frank Martin can beat Zepeda and He could beat Floyd Schofield. Floyd Schofield's trash, bro. He's trash. He could beat Floyd Schofield and shit.
Ooh.
Nah, he'll
Floyd?
beat that. Floyd
Whoa, that's a
Schofield.
So,
big
hey, how
statement.
about this one? Hey,
Frank
Wow.
Dukes, that
do
nigga
you
sucks,
do
bro.
you think who would you pick real quick? Who would you pick between Schofield and Silver?
And who?
HCO. They do HCO. That he was supposed to fight in July, but the Tyson Paul thing got delayed. Damn.
Quiet.
Damn.
That's a tough question for him.
Yeah, cause I don't think much of Schofield. Like he's a very mistake. Like his delivery system, like I don't know what y'all see. I think is this his dad's Twitter that got y'all thinking he's nice? I don't know, bro. Like
It's a lot. It's a lot of.
I've had a couple interviews with Junior and Senior been on here, but
he turned down the Stevenson shot at Stevenson. His dad admitted.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link, bro. I'll send you the
I don't
link.
know
Though.
about that.
I think he may have said something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the link. His
Oh.
dad talked about he gave it up to go fight the other dude.
Yeah, but real quick though, so tell him like which crew you with, because you be with the boxing group usually.
3 Kings Boxing, man. 3 Kings Boxing, man. You know,
So,
no, you feel me? We're not a fan of none of these fighters. We're not here to kiss these fighters' asses. We're not here to wave pom pom. We're gonna tell you what the fuck is going on, bro. You feel me? Even if I like you, man.
Yeah, so 3 Kings Boxing, he's been with that group for a long time, man. So hey, we definitely be going back and forth a lot here in reference to certain topics on that. But yeah, that's why I joined there with the Tank versus Frank. We're gonna move forward. Co-feature about just real quick. It almost looked like a sparring session or something like that, or a little walkthrough.
Them judges smoke coke.
David Benavidez.
Them judges smoke coke. Wow, how? I didn't see what you call it went all that rounds against Benavidez. I didn't see that many rounds. I might have saw 2 in the end. I didn't see no 4 rounds like some of these judges. I see 116, 112.
Yeah.
What? I didn't see no once, man. I didn't see no 116. Where you got that from?
I didn't see that, but
yeah, I didn't see that.
I do think that David's got to work on his skill sets at 175 and learn how to pick his. Yeah,
I think
when I say skill sets, I don't mean in the sense of that he don't got it. When I say it is that when you dominate a weight class for so long and then you're moving up, certain things that have worked for you in that class might not work for you in the next, because the guy he fought was huge. Jadovich was a huge Ukrainian 175 guy. Like huge. I know he fought 175. He probably came in that fight a good 190. 190.
Benavidez was 189.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he hit 190 plus. But what I'm saying to my point is with Benavidez, and I was saying it during the fight, he is known for throwing a lot of shots. And you've seen little spurts in the fight where he was throwing that 4 or 5 punch combo. Bah, 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 bah. And this one, he had spurts where he was attacking the body. He was breaking it down. You started to notice that the guard started slipping on Jadovich. He was dropping the hands and protecting the ribs. Yeah. But then David got back into his old habit of being at 168, where once his hands dropped, he wanted to throw the headshots. Bah, 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 bah. And if you watch during the fight, he was hitting with some good shots, but the Ukrainian was absorbing that. It was like, pow, pow. Okay. He was looking like a knock'em sock'em robot at certain parts of the fight. And he was like, pop, pop. Okay, I'm still here. I'm still moving forward. I'm still going to apply pressure to you. David has to learn that those type of fights that he had at 168, all of those headhunting fights is not going to work at 175. He's got to work the body, break them down, break those trees down. You got 12 rounds. You don't have to do everything in one round and get the ooze in the eyes. Break that tree down, and eventually they're going to crumble. If he would have continued working the body, which showed good signs of it, I think he could have got the stoppage, or he could have ended up putting on more damage onto his opponent. I don't know if he would have got the knockout, completely like he wanted it, but it could have been either a stoppage or he would have inflicted more damage because the body, he didn't like those rib shots. And one thing I did like that I see that he worked with his dad, because I got to interview David Benavidez Sr. Shout out to him. You could watch he was going around the guard. So when Jadovich would put that guard up, he would go around on the side to the ribs.
Yeah.
So he was working that guard. It was breaking him down. But once he seen him drop the hands, he went back into his 168 way and want to go head hunting again. And that wasn't the key. He was continue work the body, work the body, work the body. Once he continued to get used to you, he keep thinking you're gonna hit those ribs. Then you catch him with a couple of headshots, slip the uppercut, change the angle, slip, throw a right hook. But it's going to come with time. I think he's going to get better at 175. It's just that certain habits he got to realize he don't got to go in kill mode every single round. Just chop that tree down. Eventually, it's going to fall.
Yeah, word. Hey, Joe, what you thought about Benavidez's performance there?
Well, I was impressed. The only thing I'm gonna say, you said like he usually throws high volume of punches. Like he actually stopped doing that shit with the Caleb Plant fight. From the Caleb Plant fight, the Andrade fight, and this fight, his punch output don't went down. He selects punches better now. You feel me? So I guess that's gonna follow up at 175. Me, I actually was impressed. I feel this was his best in terms of like his upper body movement and actual general defense. I feel like he was, this was his best performance. Like, you feel me? And against a highly skilled guy. Don't make me pronounce his name. Yeah, you feel me?
We could just say G.
G. This is long. Yeah, that guy. Like, you feel me? Like. So I was genuinely impressed, man. But one thing, what I'm gonna say is, like, if you ever watch film on Sugar Ray Robinson, you feel me? The way Sugar Ray Robinson used broken rhythm, you feel me? Or broken rhythm, or how he'll change the trajectory of the punch midway. You feel me? David Benavidez got a lot of that shit in his bag. You feel me? That's how he's able to confuse niggas. You feel me? The puncher come 100 miles per hour and the next one 25 miles per hour. You feel me? He always fucking up your rhythm with the broken rhythm and shit, dog. But me, the issue I might have at 175, it's looking like he doesn't have the power to knock people out with one punch. So it's either A, he's going to have to fine-tune what he's doing in this fight defensively with the upper, but he's going to have to fine-tune that more, or he's going to have to increase the value. You feel me? Because you're going to need that to beat Bivol, because I'm not worried about Better Beef. We know Better Beef getting smoked. You feel me? We know Bivol flushing his radius. So, to prepare for Bivol, you feel me?
I don't know, but okay.
We'll put money on the wood,
listen. Hey, that's another one that, hey, I don't know if we're going to get that fight, but once we get that fight, Bivol and Better Beef, hey, it's going to be flight. It's going to be hot.
Hey, that's going to be a good topic.
Y'all jaws going to be on the floor.
We were definitely talking about that fight back and forth, because we definitely clashed as far as like,
man, y'all jaws gonna be on the floor when y'all come back and find out this nigga got stopped in 10 rounds. But like, you guys gonna be like, you have no power, how you do it? I'm like, the nigga's hittable. He's the most hittable nigga in the world, bro. You put a hittable nigga in the world against somebody with skills that got speed, bro, they're gonna stop him, bro. You're gonna stop this nigga, bro. You're gonna flush this special nigga's radiator, bro. He gonna do this and not war against communism. Let's go.
So all right. So with Benavidez though, but actually, my thing is this: I'm thinking that it's going to be Benavidez versus Bivol next, because that injury for Beterbiev, he ain't coming back in no October. Nah, they ain't happening, bro.
What was the injury again? I actually forgot.
Leg. It was like what, ACL or something like that.
The ACL, the knee, something with the knee, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, nah, he ain't coming back in no October, man. Like, his trainer was like, I ain't seeing it.
Why don't you get this nigga steroids? Why don't you put him on steroids during training camp? Like, they should make an exception for him. He always getting hurt.
Nah, it's that up in age, man. And like I said, he's a fighter that he's the type of guy in his fights, he don't mind taking punishment because he know he's gonna dish it back to you. It's just like Sabril Matias. He's gonna take and absorb that punishment. He's gonna take that punishment, and except for Sabril this weekend, because I saw you boxing, so I saw your face, bro. He's the type of guy that I can dish it, I could take it, but and I'm gonna dish it back out. Now the question is, can you take this punishment I'm gonna give you for 12 rounds? And most people that stand in front of those type of guys weren't able to. So that's the thing. One thing that did bother me with Benavidez this yesterday's fight, I didn't like it. I wish he would have kept it to himself. He announced that he had an injury and
Oh
he
yeah,
hurt
yeah,
his
yeah,
hand
yeah.
and stuff.
He kind of like admitted that. Yeah, because that was
I
something that
didn't
was
like that.
but that did happen. We like shout out to Warwick Boxing. He hinted at that there on his channel leading into the bout that in camp they had that whole thing with the cut with the eye, but he didn't know about the whole injury to the hand though. But the cut with the eye they thought that the actual fight would have been in danger, but they said that happened much earlier in camp, so they'll be able to clear it.
Hey yo,
I would have preferred him not to say that, just because on the sense of it to people in general, they make it look like that's a scapegoat answer. So however your performance, you can get if it's a C-rated performance, when people know you could perform at a A+ performance, it's like, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And I he's better than that. He's better than that. But I understand it though, him being honest and open to the people and the fans, because we expect a certain level and rate from Benavidez after seeing it. So, and I know he's a tough critic and grader on himself. So I know he wasn't happy with his performance overall and what he could do. So that is probably why he said it. But I just didn't like it at the moment when I heard it. I'm like, come on, Benavidez, don't do that. Don't be one of them guys. You better than that.
Yeah.
Yo, look, I gotta get this off because I just read some of the comments, man. So I gotta get this off, man. Like the people who usually disagree with me on this boxing shit, it's usually the niggas who's 0-3 on Wilder versus Fury prediction. You feel me? It's the same niggas. It's usually the same nigga who spent 5 years telling you Errol Spence was gonna dominate Tank. You feel? It's the same people. It's the same people. It's the same group. It never failed. It's the same group that told you Pope was gonna dominate anyway. Like why do you guys keep doing this with me? And then what happens is when it gets proven wrong, I don't even get the credit. You guys just switch to the next boogeyman that y'all didn't create.
Well, you know what I did when it came to Inoue beating Stephen Folk. You know where I had him.
Yeah. Like I give you, I give you that.
So all right, what is that? I was trying to see if I could wrap this up at about 11. So I'm gonna talk about one more fight on the card, like to focus on it, because that first fight on the pay-per-view was
your boy.
That first fight on the pay-per-view.
You talk about that paper. You talk about my boy from the DC area.
Right, you gotta talk about his boy Russell.
And I want you to kind of like break, see what you saw, because from what I was seeing there initially, like those first 4 rounds, it looked like Gary Antoine was just much faster, was getting his punches off, and was getting to Alberto Puello. And then in round 5 and 6, you seen Puello kind of like gauge the distance very well, take advantage of the openings that Russell had when it came to having his guard up, and was he was like landing the left hand or landing the counter on Gary Antoine Russell. And so even though like I pretty much felt like you had Gary Antoine, I had him winning the first 4 rounds. Rounds 5 and 6 to me were like Puello rounds. And then you had like rounds 7, 8, and 9. And that's where you had like the key thing there in round 9. And the thing about it was, and also Zoe kind of like sent me his scorecard round by round for that. And the thing was, it was like how you scored that particular round in round 9, where they took a point off from Puello for holding. I pretty much thought that was the deciding factor in the fight, because after that, you either scored like for round 10 and round 11, you could have Puello round. Some may have said, hey, it might have been a toss up. And in round 12, they both went at it. So once you had the scorecards, I just felt like the scorecards were off. For that 10-2 round for Gary Antoine Russell, no, definitely.
Yo, that was egregious, bro. 118-109.
I thought it was 118. Yeah, 118. Yeah,
109.
yeah, right. And then you had 115, 112 for Puello, and then you had 114, 113 for Puello for him
Yeah.
to, have that win. So Zoe pretty much like scored it there at like that 115 to 112 for Puello. I had it 114 to 113 for Gary Antoine because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see where it was like 7 rounds. I couldn't see where you could give 7 rounds to Puello. There were a few, especially in the tail end of the fight, those last 3 rounds, you had action in there back and forth that, it was pretty much like up in the air. But at least with the 12th round, I felt like Gary Antoine took that 12th round to basically have that 114, 113. Mo, what did you see there where you were watching live?
It could have went down two ways. It could have been close to a draw, or it could have been that 114, 113, either way for Peo or for Gary Antoine Russell. I'm just gonna keep it real because you already know me, Sauce. He dropped the ball, bro. Antoine played with his food. He played with his food because the body shots were effective to Puello, and they were effective because he started holding a lot in the fight. And Puello's a little more seasoned than Gary. He's a little bit more seasoned, and he went into, I call it the veteran survival mode. When them body starts getting effective, he hit him with one shot. That body shot hit him hard, and he pretty much landed in Gary's lap. And when he landed on him, he clinched him and hold him up. And there's a couple of times Gary was telling the ref, like, yo, he's holding me. Puello used his vet IQ. He learned how to survive, and he listened to his corner. Because I was wondering, I'm like, why is Gary Antoine not using his speed? Why he's not changing his angles, and why he's not attacking the body no more? He started wanting to be a headhunter. And when he went in and started trying to be in a headhunter, he was throwing a lot of wide shots, wasn't putting the guard back up after he threw shots, and he was getting countered a lot in the later rounds by Puello, like from round 6, like late in the late 6th round. Puello was catching with a lot of shots. Even the crowd was like going, damn, like, ooh, all in unison. And I'm like, yo, Gary, what are you doing? Like, bro, stick to the game plan. And I don't think he was listening to his brother. I think he started just wanting to do what he wanted to do and play the catch-up role, because I think he started noticing what he was doing wasn't being effective. But his brother was telling him, work the body, throw the jab more, and shift and move out of there. But he wanted to go in there for the kill and get the knockout, because that's what he's been doing to guys lately. He's been going in there steamrolling guys. But certain guys, you're not going to be able to do that to every single fight. Everybody's different. Some guys you're going to be able to get in there and steamroll in the beginning. Some guys you're going to have to go in there and work that tree, chop it down until it crumbles. And in this fight, he dropped the ball, bro. He should have had that. He made Puello look like a superstar. And Puello is not even, in my opinion, Puello's not even that high caliber of a fighter in that weight division. He's good, don't get me wrong, but yesterday he was looking really good. And his counterpunching was very effective.
Well,
Okay,
and
JR.
here's one thing, right?
Okay.
And this is, of course, Russell. This is like the Russells. Yeah, I've kind of covered the Russells for some time, right? But this is across the board when it comes to the Russell fighters in the Russell family. They're not active. Okay. So regardless of what happened with Gary Antoine leading into his last fight against Kent Cruz, that particular fight, he only had 1 round against Kent Cruz, and that was it. After that, he didn't have any other fight, right? That, in comparison to, at least with, Puello, he was able to fit one fight in before the end of last year against Hector Madera at Minneapolis. That really kind of was a factor there because you've seen there were times where Gary Antoine Russell just didn't look like he was completely into a gear, like if he was having, more fights within, the year or whatever it is. So you kind of like seeing Puello almost have that element of what he was doing against Batir Akhmadov. And I thought for that particular fight, I thought he did much better in that fight against Batir Akhmadov than he did against Gary Antoine Russell. But Akhmadov is a completely different type of a fighter, though. But here, I just felt like that having that one fight at the end of last year for Puello was very, it was a factor, number one. And then two, him having who is it, Ismail Salas in his corner, there, making those particular adjustments, seeing what's going on and what's going down there in the ring, man, that's a completely, different thing than, of course, having your brother who, of course, he's taking over for his late father, but, that's a completely, different set of eyes than, having your father there, in the ring. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't think not Frank Martin. I don't think Gary Antoine Russell, he has too much defensive lapses and technical flaws to not be more active.
Well, that's one thing, right? And here's the other thing too with that, right? Remember Gary Antoine Russell's fight with
Ranche?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I know. That's the exact fight. Too much. She got hit too much, bro.
Yes. Yeah, he did. And that particular fight should have just showed them like, hey, there's still a lot that he, has to work on from a defensive standpoint before, he could, go ahead and be there to challenge for, the top guys at 140 pounds.
Like, I think this goes to a deeper issue. It's like nowadays they're not trying to develop fighters anymore, man. Like they get you niggas.
Overall, yeah. But
like
telling you, hey, when I say like the landscape of boxing is gonna change drastically, over the next couple of years. Listen, you thought it was bad after the whole thing with the lockdown. At this point, shoot, don't be surprised, man. Because I mean, already right now, you already see like a good amount of fighters that have had long layoffs, right? Whether it's business or whatever, but that ain't
except for the heavyweights. The heavyweights, the only niggas that's getting out there.
Yeah, but you see what's happening with the heavyweights, or what had to happen for those heavyweights to get going and get active, right?
Yeah. So
if it wasn't for Al Sheikh or whatever it is, yeah, you still would have had it would still be hurting, and I'm talking about all across the board because I know some guys, personally, that hadn't been in the ring, whether it's for business or whatever. Sometimes, but some of it is because they don't want the dude to be in there to spoil, fighters that they're building up. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Jonathan Rice. But
that's
yeah,
because that's not like bro, like you can't. Like, bro, like you stifling people's development, bro. Like you literally like stifling people. You have to be in the ring out. Like I was watching them the other day. I was watching a marathon of all Mayweather fights, bro. I do that every once in a while, bro. Like I remember I watched like 7 fights in a row, and all those fights took place in '98. And he got a title shot that year. And a title defense right after in that same year. You feel me? I'm like, bro, like people nowadays, you're not getting active. And that's why you see the skill levels you see. That's why we got to pretend Frank Martin is nice.
Yeah. I mean, he got some elements, but like I said, he don't have everything down pat. Doing a mic check for Mo, seeing if Fight Night Mo is back on. Yeah.
Is boxing dead, man?
Back.
Yeah,
break it down to me. Is boxing dead? Give me the bad news, man. Is boxing dead, bro?
No, but it there's a shift. There's a shift right now. Even though that there's been like an announcement of sorts when it comes to like the whole thing with the PBC, on Prime or whatever it is, over the last few weeks, you've kind of like seen some fighters, within the like mid range or whatever it is, start signing elsewhere because, like as you were saying, these guys aren't getting fights, and that's the thing about it. Like you said, you got to be able to stay sharp. You got to be able to stay active. So shout out to Vito Milnicki Jr. I mean, I recently had him on. He signed with Top Rank last weekend. Because he's at the 154-pound division, and he wants to get some fights, and maybe Top Rank could fit him in to get a few fights through. So you got Vito Milnicki Jr. got his father there, as manager of sorts there. Shout out to Vito Milnicki Sr. But they're trying to get him active, so to speak.
Wait,
and
yeah, 1 second.
Like
Joe.
for example, right? Who was it? Cornflake Amana, right? Like he was like up there as a contender, but you seen him on a couple of events there for PBC, but outside of that, he had to get fights elsewhere. He pretty much promoting his own events right now.
Well, JR, I didn't get a chance to get in this with you because I didn't come in last week. How did you feel about my boy's performance on Full Box?
Who? Oh yeah. He was on point. He was on point with that.
So yeah, I say 3 years. In 3 years, he takes out Janabek, bro.
I don't know if Janabek will be there by that time, though. I really don't.
But nah, Source, you right though. That's the only thing that I have an issue with when it comes to with Uncle Al and PBC, because you see recently in the last couple months, you've had guys leave. You've had Vito leave, which is he's active.
Well,
you had Gary Antoine Russell. Like you said, he hasn't fought in a long time on the shelf.
That's just not out though.
You had Sabril Matias leave. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at boxing, you can't blame these guys. They have to stay active. They got to support their families. They got to eat. If I'm only fighting one fight every 10 to 14 months, bro, it's not cutting it. You need to be in the ring at least 2 to possibly 3 times a year to get yourself to constantly get in the position to get world title shots, to continue to keep increasing your payday, increasing your purses. But if I'm only doing that 10 to 14 months, bro, it's not working. And I don't like that because I feel like with PBC, Uncle Al, he just has too many fighters that he has on his stable and not a lot of he doesn't have a lot of airtime to put all these guys on there. And
it's not just Uncle Al, man.
But that's the thing, though.
It's not just him, though. But I'm saying within the last couple of months, he's had the most fighters out of the production companies leave ship and jump and sign elsewhere to other companies.
Yeah. So big ups to all those still in the chat. Candy Slim 501, Champ Ross in the building. L Dub, what's going on with you, man? Of course, you got L Dub by YouTube as well.
ESPN had their budget slashed in half and going into this year, dog. So that shit took a lot of their shows.
You're right. Jalil Hackett. They talking about that story there with Turkey Al Sheik, and I'm like saying, hey man, that whole little thing is a long ways away from.
And he talked about 200 fighters. He talked about picking up 200 fighters only out of all that shit, man. Nigga, get the fuck, man.
Yeah. It's
nobody want to watch that UFC shit, man.
Yo, I was gonna ask you that too. So I was gonna ask you, what's your intake? What's your the view on that?
That's a long ways out. Number one, it's a long ways out, and number two, I have to see how Turkey is looking at what he's already done so far, and then also, what's coming up on the third. Because the thing about the business of boxing, man, one thing, in business in general, you don't want to lose money a long term. Now, when you start off a business, you're gonna have those setbacks initially. You ain't gonna be, making money off the rip. Usually when you start off business, that's why the majority of businesses that start up pretty much like fold within 3 to 5 years. But like here with Turkey Al Sheik, while it looks like a thing where it almost seems like a shift, you gotta see what you see in the results, like the fight, that Fury Usyk fight. You see how much folks had streamed that. You didn't have
Okay.
much success with the Day of Reckoning pay-per-view also. So now it's like we got to see what happens here with this pay-per-view with
J-
Carl Magic.
Jr.
But you,
Jr. I'm not a smart person in the technical side of business shit. So I gotta ask you,
okay.
if Usyk and Fury, they saying that shit lost like what 120 million, some outrageous shit, right? In streaming revenue.
From streaming apps, they pretty much estimated that it was around like 100,
1.2 million or something like that.
No, they said 100.
Yeah, 120 mil. Yeah, 120 mil, like in revenue.
Jeez.
So here's my question: like, I know you didn't make that money. I know that money is lost revenue, but that's still people watching that shit. Can these promoters leverage that shit? Be like, yo, my nigga, put it on free TV. Like, listen, nigga, 120 million revenue. That equals this much eye. That equals this much eye. Niggas gonna watch that shit.
I feel you. Like, I know that you kind of brought it up, and there's been people that have brought it up as well. I mean,
like, people are watching it. It's not like people are not watching it. If they streaming it illegal, they watching it.
Yeah, but the thing is, man,
it's the networks.
So
down to the networks and the partnership.
And then two, where the sponsorship's gonna come from. Shout out to GM. He said he gonna give me hit up. He said turkey, egg, and cheese.
I'm gonna give my input on it. I don't think that it's gonna work because just like my brother said, if he's talking about taking a certain amount of fighters, we're talking about all the top promotion companies, Golden Boy, PBC, Matchroom. You're talking about taking a certain amount of fighters from each stable, and like he said, could be 200. It's going to be a major problem because you're not going to have enough money to go around to feed all these fighters unless you're telling me you're going to throw a fight card every week. That's the only way you're going to be able to move these guys around. You're going to have to throw a fight card or 2 fight cards a week. That's not going to be able to happen realistically with money. And especially the guys that you're trying to go get. You're trying to get guys like Canelo, Tank, Anthony Joshua, Fury, Usyk, Inoue, Bud Crawford. Bro, they're not cheap. This ain't no
man. I say you make a paper. I say not a pay-per-view, not a pay. I say you make an event every month and you just fucking stock up the fucking cards to the fucking brim.
Doing what you're doing.
And then,
I agree, my brother.
And then you take that card and then you take it to the network and said, listen, we gonna do Super Bowl numbers, nigga. You gonna make your money back on ad dollars and ad revenue, nigga. We won't have to put it on pay-per-view.
That's the thing right there.
That's what makes sense. That would make sense to me.
That's the thing. We need that advertising revenue and all that type of stuff to, pick up from, the cost that you're gonna get by getting these fighters together. But you gotta be able
because let's be honest, Source. And my brother here, I forgot your name, my brother.
So
let's be honest. We didn't know who the hell Turkey Al-Sheikh was.
I still don't know who he is for real.
About a year ago. But you know why we knew who he is now, Your Excellency? Because he started talking to these promoters, talking to Eddie. He started saying, hey, let's put these cards together. Let's put these promo movies and videos together. Those promos for those fights that they got those are fire. Those are fire. You don't even have to be a boxing fan. You watch one of them promos, you're like, yo, when that fight happening? Oh, I gotta see it. You might not even know but one fighter on the card. It intrigued them. So I agree with you guys. Make some type of agreement, put together a big card like that once a month, keep people intrigued in the sport. Get the casuals to come in, get the hardcore boxing fans to come in, and they'll come and observe and watch it. And your streams will not be how they are. You'll have people that's willing to buy it. That's why I tell people, no matter what, Bob Arum is still the GOAT promoter of boxing. He's been doing this for a while. Why? Because he's still going to get pay-per-view fights. But guess what he's doing? I'm gonna throw fights on ESPN. Mostly everybody got cable, or mostly everybody got the ESPN app, and everybody watches the fights. And you're still drawing fight and revenues. It might not
And
be
then another thing, better timing. The spacing of the timing of the events, man.
Oh
Like
my God, yo.
the main events need to come in at 8:30. No late. Like I like the pacing for Amazon Prime with the Tank Frank one. I love that pacing.
Yeah.
We keep that shit
But-
up. You feel me?
But see, that's the thing.
What time
though.
they showed that over here on the East Coast, that fight, by the way?
Which one?
The Frank and Tank fight. What time they showed it on the East Coast?
What was that, about 11 something or whatever it was?
Okay.
Yeah, probably around 11 something. But
because over there they
the
opened
start
the
of
first
it
fight
was
like
at 8 p.m.
12:30
Eastern
noon.
time. But the thing was, it was like all of those fights, the 4 fights that were on the pay-per-view card, those
True.
first 3 fights went the full 12 rounds. So that was the thing about
That
it.
was what, Adamas fight?
Yeah,
Who else?
whatever hell. You had that
Yeah.
fight. You had the Russell Puello and then the Benavidez Gvozdyk.
Benavidez fight.
All of those went the full 12. So that kind of prolonged things a little bit. But having that start time at 8 p.m. Eastern, they used to have it at like 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, sometimes 10.
Yeah, so that was the thing, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't know. They're gonna have to make adjustments on that, because the thing for the Fury Usyk or whatever it was, and you had the Fury Usyk, you had the Joshua Ngannou, you had the Joshua versus who was it? Otto Wallin.
What was it? The heavyweight. What was that heavyweight card?
Day of Reckoning.
Day of Reckoning. That was a great card, but that was all day, bro.
Yeah, but
was like
that's the thing.
fight.
Those cards are like all day. I'm like, yo, I
Those
can't
are-
do these 6-hour cards like that. Those are like 6 hours, and like you got the whole thing. Well, if you don't have if you have ESPN Plus and you do the Top Rank thing, like that full joint there, that's 6 hours. I'm like, yo, I can't do all that, cuz I can't do that. Just go ahead.
I got things to do today.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and just have these few fights here at about 10 o'clock or whatever it is, and just do your thing. One thing that I kind of criticize and reference to the thing with the ESPN Plus stuff and having those fights there is that you see fighters that are just starting out, and you pretty much like see their flaws early or whatever it is, or whatever they have to work on. And it's like you usually don't see those things on TV. They're like off TV or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't think they're gonna do that anytime soon with Top Rank. But like, yeah, some of these things have to, be something where they condense the timing of these telecasts there. So that's that. I'm running a little bit over, but I'm gonna see if I can go through one more thing here. Real quick, and that's the thing that happened in 140 over in Puerto Rico. Subriel Matias, man.
2 left feet.
Well, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And
You should be ashamed of yourself. All you do was call him a boogeyman, and that was making fun of me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
Nah.
Put your head down.
Listen, hey, Zoe. The thing though, too, right? Even with the flaws that we see in Subriel Matias, right? There are people like, not like us, but I'm talking about like other trainers, other like analysts or whatever it is, or more folks that like have a lot more that have been in the game a lot longer than us, that were saying like Subriel Matias is, he's the guy at 140 pounds. You know what I'm saying? He is the guy at 140 pounds.
They're smoking disco biscuits.
But I'm like this. But I said, you know what? His last fight that he had against Shojan Ergashev, those first few rounds, hey, listen, he was tagging him up a little bit. Ergashev had like the thing with the movement and everything and the activity to really have Subriel Matias reset a whole lot of times. It probably looked like Matias's first fight against Petros Ananian or something like that. But that one was,
Y'all boys, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to cut this early. My
Okay.
girl just woke up, so unfortunately, like, nice chopping up with you guys. Go check out Three King Boxing, man. You feel me? We give unbiased takes on sport. We're not a fan of any of these fighters, and then I support my boy Boxing Source, man. I don't know any of your Twitter handles and information, but follow my boy, even though he's tripping with the tank shit. It's okay. We just gotta lead the people to the water, man. It's cool.
What, nah?
All right, y'all boys.
Come on, man. We'll trust me. Trust me. In 2025, it's all gonna be decided when we see Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson for undisputed at 135 pounds.
I don't even talk about it no more.
Yeah, exactly.
I just keep putting the tallies and the checks right next to the new body that appeared on it.
Yeah, it's big, man. Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't see the fight.
Man. GM on the chat, man. Yo, you've been going in on this joint though. But yeah, back to the whole thing with the Matias and Perro. Like Perro, of course, I was, they're just like locked into Tank versus Frank Martin, man. I don't know why they had put this Matias Perro at this particular date and at that time in there. I thought they could have, tried to fit it, before Tank versus Frank Martin happened, but nope, it happened pretty much around that same time. And Liam Perro, man, I thought, he looked impressive in his last bout against Montana Love, getting that stoppage victory there. But he had, like a good little mix of, offense and defense here against Subriel Matias. And the thing with Matias is he's more of like an offensive guy, like a comfort offensive guy, linear, as they say, straight up and down, no special effects. So if you have the ability to not necessarily just move around the ring, but have good head movement, be able to catch and shoot and move, then he's going to have problems because he really don't make those adjustments like that. You know what I'm saying? But GM said, hey, Hearn, kind of like messed up on this one. He said, hey, but he put Subriel in a bad matchup there and had him on, the same day for Tank versus Frank Martin, man. Yeah, and that was the first fight, his first fight under Matchroom Boxing.
First fight under Matchroom, and
against a guy that is a Matchroom fighter in Liam Perro. But the thing about it is like you can't like have him get in there with like that. That if you're gonna have him fight in Puerto Rico, that has to be like a feature fight of sorts. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't put him in there in a matchup where you might, have Perro be like a crazy matchup. You know what I'm saying? So
Perro was tough.
Yeah, that one was a bad look because what was it? Perro was he was ranked number 5 in the IBF. I mean,
so let me ask you, Source, because I'm gonna ask you because I was at Tank's fight, so I didn't get to watch the fight, but I got my boys who was in Puerto Rico, and all I get was a text message that says "and the new," and I was like, "What?" And it was like Pardo won. Do you think, in your opinion, that Subriel overlooked Perro, and do you think that this was a setup by Eddie, or do you think this was a cherry pick that Eddie thought that Perro was going to get walked through and it backfired?
I don't know, because the thing was like with Liam Perro, like I mentioned, he's a Matchroom fighter. He had that Matchroom thing there with Montana Love, so he was getting the win there. So he ends up getting a fighter either way with regardless of the result. You know what I'm saying? But either way, like it was like, what were they gonna do with Subriel Matias? Like he had to do something where he was going to defend that IBF title. So it was like, okay, who would you match him up with? I guess they couldn't find a fighter out there within the rankings that he could fight, up to that ranking. But Liam Perro was up there at like number 5, and I don't know, but part of that other question that you brought up too, right, was that I do have a feeling that maybe Subriel Matias kind of overlooked Liam Perro because his like demeanor and his actions were like directed towards other people, like directed towards Regis Prograis, directed towards Devin Haney, directed towards Ryan Garcia, and these other 140-pound fighters. when you just getting over to another promotional company
You gotta
trying to
be
get a fight
focused.
in. You know what I'm saying? So focus on that. Focus on that fight, and make sure that if you're able to work and take care of business, that you can. Shout out to Champ Ross with of course, his fantasy boxing predictions league. He says, I think he overlooked Perro the way he came to the ring, taking 15 minutes with the rapper, man. Like, come on, man. And yeah, man, yeah, he was calling Devin that. He was
Yeah,
calling Regis Prograis that. They had a whole FaceTime.
yeah,
You
I
know,
saw
days
that.
like what was it? A day before, 2 days before the
Two
fight,
days
they had a
before,
whole
he talked
FaceTime.
about, I'm gonna send you to the hospital,
Yeah,
and then F you, put his middle finger up.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
so you know what it comes down to? When you are dominating the way he was dominating, because
Mm-hmm.
we got to be honest, he was dominating the opponents he did face prior to. I think it starts to become where you start to feel yourself a little too much. He started to feel himself too much. He was at home. Who knows what they was telling him? You know, this the
Mm-hmm.
homecoming. He was getting pumped up and hyped up, and he wasn't humble. And when you're not humble and realizing that, you're gonna get humbled. And this was a humble pie for him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it had to happen at home.
Right.
The crazy part about it is that Puerto Rico is still building that next Puerto Rican star. Who is that guy gonna be? Because a lot of people was talking, is it gonna be him? Is it gonna be Xander Zayas? Is it gonna be I forgot my other guy that fights with Golden Boy. Um uh Calazo?
Mm.
Who's it gonna be? Because he's on his third title defense, Calazo, and he got that incentive by De La Hoya. If he wins five, I think he gets a $500,000 incentive.
$1,000. Yeah.
So he's already won three. He's got two more to go to defend and win. So it's like, who's going to be that next Puerto Rican male star? And Sabril was supposed to be in line to be that star. But after this loss,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking like he might get pushed back.
Oh
And
yeah.
like I said earlier, he's one of those guys that he takes what you got, take your best shots, and
Mm-hmm.
then he wants to inflict the pain. From what I heard, Pyro used his skill sets and
Yeah.
didn't stand there and become a punch dummy like most of these
Right.
guys do.
Right. And that's why I like brought up Matthias's previous fight there against Shojan Ergashev, because Ergashev, like he was like, I was watching that fight live, man, and I was like, yo, Ergashev in there putting in work. Like, he was working them. And it was just that, you know, he had the whole thing with the leg flare up with him once again. So he, after that, he couldn't really move for nothing. And so that's when you see Matthias just break him down, and then they just ended up, you know, waving it off after about a few rounds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was that, man. So I'm like, now with Matthias, I'm saying like he's in a real tough spot right now, because if he pretty much like got outboxed by Liam Perro, I don't know if they're going to, you know, be up for doing a rematch here. You know, even though Perro was, of course, not a mandatory challenger, but the thing about it is like, okay, you were like mentioned up there among the top guys at the 140-pound division. Now you take this loss. Now what you gonna do? Like, either you have the rematch, or you're like, okay, do you like fight a guy that was a contender there in Richard Hitchens? Do you still want to pursue that Prograis fight? Now what do you do? Because the thing about it is, like you said, they were trying to build him up to be like one of those guys to be the Puerto Rican superstar. But you had this loss like this, you performed the way that you did against Liam Power. That's a huge setback. I don't know, man. I think he would probably have to go ahead and get back on that one, man.
Yeah, he has to run it back. He has to run it back. That's if Pato wants to run it back. He has to run it back, and he has to work on a lot of things. Now, not saying he's going to be 100% turnaround, because like certain things you can't change in certain people, but his camp and his team got to work on a lot of things for him to be effective to beat him in a rematch. If Prado does decide to do that. And if he doesn't decide to have a rematch, then who should he face next? Because he got to get himself back in that realm to let people know, yeah, I had a loss, but I'm still a dangerous fighter.
Yeah, but I don't know like what would be a good matchup for him that would have him really do a get back of sorts with that. So I'm like, man, I don't know. Like he might. I think I'll see what they end up saying here for where he's going to go back down in the rankings for the IBF
because you see him against a guy like a Sandor Martin.
Nah, because it looks like Sandor Martin, like they should be still in negotiation.
I think he's with Haney, right?
Yeah. So they still should be in that negotiation period, for that. Let's see. Oh, they saying this will be an interesting thing, right? Isak Cruz with his ugly style would blitz right through Paro and Matias. He says, man, in talk trend says, I don't know. Isak Cruz, another, Matias, a boxer beats like an Isak Cruz. My thing with Isak Cruz, right? And this was even before he fought Rolly. He had that other fight that was there on last July 29th. That was like that, the co-feature bout.
Oh, when he blew up he was big, bro.
Well, he was like big, but then like he had the fight against Giovanni Cabrera. He was like real sloppy in that.
Wasn't
fight.
He on the that was the undercard for Tank versus Garcia, right?
No, this was July 29th. That was the Spence Crawford undercard.
Oh, the Spence, okay. Yeah, he was really sloppy. That was
really sloppy. He was like headbutting. He was getting frustrated. He couldn't really, get to Giovanni Cabrera. And I thought like Cabrera could have done enough to
he could have got him out of there.
But I did put something on that fight for Cabrera for the decision. So when they said that Isak Cruz got that thing by split decision, I was
hot.
super heated, yo.
I thought he lost that fight. I will be honest.
Yeah,
I thought he lost the
fight, man. See, man, hey, man, he said Giovanni cooked Isak Cruz. But
I thought he lost that fight. But this is what I say earlier when I was talking about the politics and the corruption. There's certain guys that are gonna get wins in that type of fashion when it comes to the cards because they have certain people behind them, because they're looking at what's next for them. They already got maybe 2 or 3 fights, big fights already in line for them. It's a fight that I don't want to. I ain't gonna bring it up. We talked about it, so it's a heavyweight fight. All I'm gonna say is a heavyweight, and one of the people is undisputed, and they fought a particular person, and that's that.
Yeah.
That was a controversial fight.
Yeah.
So
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
So yeah, that is kind of like it's part of the game. And the thing with Isak Cruz against Giovanni Cabrera, man, that was mad sloppy. And like I said, I feel like Cabrera won it. You got your guy up here, Trent said that Giovanni Cabrera won it, but they kind of like leaned it towards Isak Cruz. But like his style, it's for me, it's like predictable, but you gotta like have a style like a maybe like a Devin Haney or maybe or whatever it is, and kind of like get that type of thing where you move around the ring, you're able to stick the jab and keep them off of you. Do things to keep them off of you. Rolly tried it, but Rolly ain't got them elements. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a quick question. So, how do you feel about? Because I didn't hear many people talk about it, but I enjoyed the fight. I was watching it as I was getting ready to go to the MGM. Kyron Davis versus Elijah Garcia.
Okay. Yeah. Matt just brought it up, right? That was a great performance there by Kyron Davis. Elijah Garcia, he had been coming up the ranks there in middleweight.
He'd been cooking. Fast.
Yeah, he's been doing very well. He was very active in 2023. I had been at the fight on April when he was part of that Tank Davis Ryan Garcia undercard. So he was on there. He did very well in that. But the thing was, it was like he went up against guys that either were like ready to be broken down or like had a certain type of a style where they won't be able to take that type of pressure. Like the thing with Kyron Davis is he had the resume going up into this where he fought, of course, David Benavidez at 168. And he had the whole thing with was it Darrell, where that was a really close fight, and some people thought that he won that fight. It ended up being a draw, but some folks thought that Kyron Davis won that fight. So he had already been, doing work there in the past, and of course you have the trainer there, Stephen Bradman Edwards, and he was just coaching Kyron Davis and just letting them say, hey, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't get overly, excited. Just, set him up with the right hand. And the thing with Elijah Garcia, he just had the high guard. He had a high guard, but it was almost like he was like this.
It was like up here, bro.
Yeah, like up here. So whether it was the jab or the right hand, all Kyron Davis had to do was just get right in the middle of that. And you didn't have any head movement from Elijah Garcia in this particular bout whatsoever. And yeah, it almost did look like, Garcia looked like an amateur, in that, so he definitely has a lot to work on there. It's a definite setback for him there because, that was a clear decision victory there for Kyron Davis, getting them back in the mix there at the middleweight division. So big ups for Kyron Davis to get that win. I think there was like I think they showed him with the belt, so he had like a minor belt there for that one. He was like motivated in that particular bout. There was some things going on in I think his home area, whatever it was. He kind of like talked about that after the fight. So he was really motivated to get out there and perform, very well in there, for that end. But that whole thing too, though. Let's just mention there, right? Kyron Davis got the decision win, but it was a split decision win. And John McKay scored this bout 98-92 in favor of Elijah Garcia. Come on, what? No, you can't be judging no fights for a good little while, if anything. If you're saying that Elijah Garcia won 8 of those 10 rounds, I'm telling you, from round 1 to round 10, Elijah Garcia really didn't have that much behind his punches at all. Like he was like touching up and he was going to the body, and you really didn't see nothing much going to the body. Only about like a couple times where he did like try to do some effort to the body, but outside of that, you really didn't see, much at all, anything behind the punches from Elijah Garcia. You know what I'm saying? So it was not a good performance at all there from Elijah Garcia. But it should have been a clear decision win for Kyron Davis.
I said this before too. One of Talk Trend said it. I am a big believer on this, and I think that boxing needs to do this, but I don't think they will because, like I said, at the end of the day, there's a lot of money that go into boxing that, behind the scenes. And I've talked to people in the realm of boxing, like the sources of the sources, and there's a lot of stuff that go on where the money talks a lot. But I think a lot of these judges should be judged. A lot of these refs should be judged. A lot of these score people should be judged. And I feel like a lot of these fights are biased on those people because you do have some robberies in some fights when it comes to these judges, man. And it's not right. It's not right. Last night, I don't know if you saw it, they had Cheatham as one of the judges in the Tank and Frank fight. And when I saw that name, I said, oh my God. Oh my goodness. I said, this fight is it definitely got to end in a knockout, because if you know anything about Cheatham, Source, he's had a lot of controversial fights that
Yeah,
he has judged and should have been questioned by the sanctioning bodies. And
yeah,
I'm talking about like some really outrageous judging. I'll let
yeah.
the people do their homework on that. But take a look at him, Cheatham. I think his first name was Tom Cheatham, right? I think it's
Tim.
Tim Cheatham. Sorry, Tim Cheatham.
Mm-hmm.
Very controversial fights that he has judged that has left a lot of people wondering why he's even still in the sport.
Yeah,
But judges and referees definitely need to get held accountable. I totally agree on that one.
yeah. But I mean, at least at the very least on the referees portion, like they had like Thomas Taylor, reffing a couple of the fights there on that card, and Harvey Dock, aka Dave Chappelle, that was referee in the main event there.
Talk lids.
Yeah, with Tank Davis and Frank Martin. But I mean, those two guys are good referees. At least I feel like it. And Thomas Taylor over the past year and a half has been involved in more and more of these main event fights here because I think he's ended up being a good referee there.
I would have liked my guy to referee. He did a pretty decent job last night. The ref the Tank and Martin fight.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta bring. What's his name?
Tank Frank Martin. Yeah, that's Harvey Dock.
Harvey Dock. He's good, but one of my guys that I like because not only because his passion, his facial expression, Willis.
Yeah,
Willis with the eyes. Yeah, because he's straight across the board. He doesn't have any biasness to it. There's certain referees out there that are true to the sport that are good.
But I think Steve Willis is kind of like close to, if he's not already, he's probably close to retiring here at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's been in the game for a long time.
He's been on the main event thing, for a good little minute now. So I think he's kind of like close to retiring there for that joint. But he's a good one. But like I said, Harvey Dock's a good one, and Thomas Taylor has been like part of these main events here for these big fights that have happened here in the States too. So those two guys have pretty much like done a good job with refereeing. But like gotta watch for Tim Cheatham. Some say like Dave Moretti, you gotta be on the lookout for sometimes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So but like you said, hey, like boxing needs like something like that to have hold these judges accountable for these things that they're doing in the ring as far as like judging fights, and they don't really have that type of punishment towards like
not at all.
That
not at all.
That has to be fixed up here, man. So we got
exactly, especially when some of these guys' scorecards are released before the fight is even over. You see some of these guys like they already done rated certain rounds. Like, bro, like, come on, how you rated rounds and this fight's not even over? The fight might have ended in a 7th round knockout. You already got scores up for other rounds. I think it was.
But like Texas had that thing with open scoring, so that kind of like does things where. I mean, I don't like that because that seriously affects a fight because you're able to hear what's going on. So I'm like, nah, you can't necessarily do that because fighters will have like a certain strategy, and if they feel like they did very well in these rounds, and then they end up hearing that they didn't get the credit for the work that they did, it's like, okay, so what can I do now? Or the trainer will say, hey, what are we gonna be doing at this point? So I kind of like that.
I agree with you because there's been certain fights that you had certain fighters that get knockdowns, 1 or 2 knockdowns, and they didn't score. It should have been a 10-8 round or a 10-7 round. You're like, yo, like, what you did 9-10? Where you get that from? Where's the 10-8 round? Oh, we don't count that. Knockdowns? Since when?
It's wild, man. Definitely wild. But that's mainly what I got here, man. We got, I don't know, I have to look into what actually may be out there here for the following week, but it was just a big weekend here in boxing, man. I'm still coming off of that high of what happened there with Tank versus Frank Martin, man. Like I said, I mean, you know what though, I should have like put something on there because I just felt like Tank taking 8. And I just had that feeling the whole time. I should have just, put in that thing like you did, man, with the 7 and 9, and then the exact round, man. would have came through with something.
You should have called me, bro. I'd have been like, I got you. We're going right to the betting spot.
Yeah,
now.
to the side. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I should have I should have did my thing in the DraftKings or whatnot, man. I could have did it on that too. So it is what it is with that.
Which is crazy because they don't even let you use bet. You can't use no betting apps in Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah.
Everything is at the casinos. You got to go to the actual gates and stands to actually place bets. So people, if you're ever in Vegas, those apps you got, it don't work. You got to go to the casino and place your bets, man.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, it's wild, man. But yeah, that's what I got, man. They do have fights on a fight card on Friday on ESPN Plus. It'll be Rafael Espinoza with his first defense of the WBO featherweight title against Sergio Torino. So you're gonna have those top-ranked fight cards going down on ESPN Plus there. So we got things that'll be picking up here later on in the summer that we'll be talking about, particularly June 29th. They'll have some good fights. Estrada versus Ben Rodriguez is June 29th. And then July, we get it jumping off. Shakur Stevenson has his fight there in Newark. And then July 13th, you got the whole thing there with Boots Ennis and David Benavidez in Philadelphia. So we'll be picking up with the coverage on that here on the Boxing Source. But also big thanks to Fight Night Mo, Maurice Jones here of Four Corners Boxing. Y'all can catch 15 rounds with Four Corners Boxing Wednesday evenings, every Wednesday evening with them. So be sure to check them out. And also Four Corners Boxing, that's with the number 4, Four Corners Boxing on social media as well. So y'all be able to check them out as well, man. They do some good work over there too, yo.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Yeah, but that's it for this show here. It is 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. There usually I kind of like wind down, but I thought that I was going to be on some other boxing discussion, but I'm just waiting on that. But this was a late scheduled boxing podcast. Usually start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, but there are some things going on during this weekend over my way that kind of like delayed things a little bit. So that's why I kind of like started it at 9:30. But I don't know. Maybe I might switch things up a little bit sometime. Might switch things up a little bit. So
got on the toes.
Yes, because I'll tell you this. Like ever since I started the podcast for the Boxing Source, it's been almost like 10 years. Like I usually start at like 7:30 p.m. and it never really changed. But like, here at this point, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It might be a little bit good. Like I don't have any issue like doing it at 9:30 and ending it around, 10:30 or 11 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I guess it, kind of like accommodates to, those in the West Coast, man. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that might be something there for me to consider, So I'll think about that here in the near future and see if I'll continue to like do the podcast a little bit later in the evening. But with that being said, of course, this is the Boxing Source podcast. You can support by hitting the like button, hit the share button there. And of course, you can catch Fight Night Mo, Maurice Jones on Four Corners Boxing over on YouTube and also on social media. So with that being said, hey, like I say, point of boxing sometimes hitting, not the send and trade. On that note, I'm out. Peace, y'all.